Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Royal Sussex Live. Welcome, one and all. Happy Sunday to you. Okay, there we go. All right, let me do a little audio check right quick and make sure that you guys can hear me clearly. Right. Hmm. Okay, I think that's good. Very good. All right, let me open that up like that. Now leave me down in the corner. Down on the corner, out here in the street. I never knew the words of that song. Oh boy, I love the way it begins though. Boom, 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 dun, 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 dun. Ba, ba, da, ba, ba. Oh, what is that song? Oh, anyway, now it's going to be stuck in your heads all day. You're welcome. Okay, so hello to Gwendolyn Daniels, Connie Bomber, Joy Moore. Welcome to Royal Sussex Fancy Fancy, Caroline, Church Nellie, Karen M, Child of Cece, Miss S. Hello, Karen. Happy birthday again, to Karen. That is. Um, Let me see who else is here. Lane Parker, Black Queen, and Lydia Washington. Yeah, thank you so much. You're absolutely right. Happy Sunday, family. Welcome to the live chat. Thank you for joining. Please like, share, subscribe, and join the membership if you are able. Thumbs up, please. Well, remember, the membership is a bargain at only $4.99 until I finally get enough wheel to change it. Hello to JSC. Okay. Let me go all the way to any other direction here. Oh, Miranda Rios is here. Marcia Ware. Mary H. Legs with a great big good morning and good afternoon to everyone. Cynthia Thorpe. Oh, heaps of blessing. Thank you so much for that. Joan Garcia. Okay, educate you too. Very good. All right, let's get into it, shall we? Um, this is not the most pressing scandal that there is. However, it is part of a greater problem, and I didn't notice it until yesterday. So, Prince Andrew held secret crisis talks with Fergie's toe sucking ex lover John Bryan. A U.S. banker pictured kissing Sarah Ferguson's feet tells how he was smuggled into Windsor to advise Duke over Epstein as he breaks silence 30 years after those pics. Well, this is yet another attempt to somehow make sure that they distract from other things that are going on with that royal family, with the firm. Um, this, along with, of course, the bullying allegations, is a way to make sure that if there are any possible ways that someone could possibly escape the scandals of their past, or in the Sussex's case, escape the actually they were the ones that were bullied. But if there was any way for them, and they don't even want to get back into anybody's good graces over there, they just want to work. I mean, they don't want to be at odds with anybody, but the Sussexes just want to work. They want to do their work. But with Andrew, he's trying to, get back into royal duty and such. And so I think that this whole story of the toe sucking thing is a recurring nightmare for Sarah Ferguson and, of course, for Andrew. So, Sarah Ferguson, she seems to have found an existence outside of royal duty just fine, as evident that she just bought that multi-million dollar townhouse or whatever. But take a look at this. This is just one of many articles that you'll find. Sarah Ferguson's toe sucking scandal is revisited as Fergie makes Prince Andrew announcement. See what I mean? Sarah Ferguson, 58, took to Twitter to reveal she was with Andrea Bocelli before posting gushing praise of her ex husband, Prince Andrew, also 58. Now, mind you, this is from a few years ago. Last night, a documentary reignited the infamous toe sucking scandal that is thought to have ended their marriage. Well, how did it get reignited? It's only been reignited because you took a match to it. You, the tabloid media, in this case, I think it's the Express, you keep reminding people about it. It's not as though it's ever going to go away, but then the full spread of photos again and again and again, that is totally a media construct. They are the ones responsible for that. And so, no matter what happens, they are always going to throw this back out there. As a matter of fact, this comes before Epstein, always. So, this is going to be one of the things that they use to make sure that Andrew never seeks any type of public service again. And by the way, I agree that he shouldn't be allowed to do that because his situation is so, you know, dodgy that there's no way that should happen. But the connection that I'm making here is the fact that these are the little things that they pull out anytime they want to undermine someone in that family, thus allowing the mediocre Middleton girl and her equally non interesting, uninteresting husband, the current Prince of Wales, and anybody else in that family who thinks that they're going to steal the spotlight. And in this case, they really just want Andrew to go away. And if he takes Sarah Ferguson with him, so much the better. But yeah, so that is going to be something that you'll notice is that well, who am I speaking to? I'm preaching to the choir, aren't I? We've already seen that time and time again. So why this is news suddenly, who knows? But some 30 years later, all of a sudden, it became the front page headline news yet again for no good reason. Um, if I were Andrew, Andrew needs to just try to find something else to do with his time besides trying to be a part of royal service. There was something about the accuser, the person that they paid out for somebody he never met, for something he never done. That person is said to have recounted some parts of her story about another person. And so suddenly Andrew figures, well, if that's the case, why don't I try to get back into public life again? And once that thought came to his mind, boom, this pops up again. See what I mean? They're just not going to let that happen. So, Andrew and Sarah have the ultimate free ride in life, that is. I'm pretty sure the queen left him a nice little tidy sum of money and his father before her. So what's the point of it? Is it just arrogance? Is it just pride? Is it a real vanity trip that you just have to be back in the spotlight again? There's enough scandal right there with the current king and queen consort. They don't need you to add to that, although it might help deflect. Hi, Beverly Hardy. Happy Sunday to you. And thank you. Let me see. Oh, where was I? Oh, Beverly. Yeah, Beverly Hardy has a big greeting. Oh, Dorothy Ross, thank you so much for the hugs, hugs, and more hugs. Thank you so much. Hugs are good. I like hugs. Hello, Gift Love. Hello, Ma Jones. Welcome. Welcome to Royal Sussex Live. Okay, so let's move on, shall we? Let's move on. Now, here's the new one. Here's the new one. So let me dissect this photo for you. Now, this is something that is supposed to create a hostile reaction. This is what they're trying to do. Um, that won't heal the rift. RFK's daughter reveals Harry and Meghan will be honored at New York City Gala for their heroic stance against structural racism of royal family. So, in order to, I guess, give it the oomph that they're looking for, so that won't heal the rift. Now, that is how you start off an article, right? That won't heal the rift. Explanation point. All right, so right there, you pulled into it. And then number two, a smiling Harry and Meghan. Well, of course, based on everything that the tabloids have been trying to do, if Harry and Meghan dare to smile about something, there is something not right about that, something that is rather inappropriate. They shouldn't smile. After all, it's because of them the queen is dead, right? Because they decided to leave the royal family. Let's ignore Prince Charles marrying his mistress and then, putting her on the throne. Let's ignore everything about Andrew. Let's ignore Countess Sophie with her bad mouth in the family. Let's ignore Sarah and Sophie doing these interviews with people who pretended to be someone that they weren't, so that they can, uh, what do you call it, embarrass the family. And of course, in Sarah's case, she's about to get the big kickback. And then let us ignore the fact that her husband, the Queen's husband, Philip, was having some kind of relationship with somebody to some level at Wood Farm that were not supposed. Anyway, there are scandals abound, but the Sussexes are not supposed to grin because the Sussexes alone were the ones who decided that they would run for their dear lives, and somehow the Queen was upset because they wanted to save their own lives, right? Right. So that's what's wrong with that. They're not supposed to smile. But yeah, so they put that photo there where they are extra gleeful about something. They're enjoying their lives, of course. And so that is supposed to trigger the reader. And then Kennedy who will honor them. So they have the banner behind her with the raised fist, which that is a very old photo, but they use that to remind you that she doesn't have the same values as the rest of white Britain and and of course, even though the queen is dead, you have to throw the queen in there to remind people that it was the queen that was wronged by the Sussexes, that were blindsided by the Sussexes, who the Sussexes didn't ask permission of, even though the queen knew certainly well of their plan to leave the fold. That, of course, is what they're implying with this photo. You know what, you guys? I need to. It is all of a sudden I am hot. I need to open up a window or something. Give me just a second, you guys. Okay, I am back. Very good. All right. Thank you so much, you guys, for your patience. Let me take a look at your comments. Oh, really? Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it was just, I looked at the photo and I'm just like, oh, they are trying to make the point. I mean, it just screams, oh, she's for black people. I'm sure Kerry Kennedy could care less of what the cult and the racist British tabloids are thinking of her, and she let them know it in her statement. Amen to that. Amen to that. She she let them know in her statement that she is not about whatever it is they're on. Let me see here. As a matter of fact, I need to find that statement just to remind everyone what she said. Thank you, Baron, for reminding these deranged people of their deeds. Absolutely. I mean, I think the whole point of this is to point out that she has this pro black, pro people of color agenda, and that by her giving any type of honor or respect to the Sussexes, she is obviously anti royal, anti Britain, anti this, anti that. Which, I mean, who knows? She may be all of those things, but whatever the case is, she is honoring them because they took a stance. They had the Oprah Winfrey interview, of course. And in that interview, they spoke about something that happened to them. And even though they had so much to lose, and let's remember, you guys, um, Harry pointed it out very clearly in the Read You Can't See that there is always the threat of physical harm against the Duchess of Sussex, and of course, even against him, which is why he has the use of bodyguards himself. They have to sustain themselves financially, not only to have a suitable place to live for someone of their status, but that, of course, means security, and security is expensive. And as the tabloids finally, in the beginning, The tabloids pointed it out over and over again how much security is going to cost, how much security is going to cost. While the whole time that they were pointing it out, what were they doing? Making them more vulnerable and less secure. The entire time they were speaking about, oh, how expensive security is, who's going to pay for it. I remember how the tabloid press, people with their own families, their own friends, their own well being to consider, did everything that they could to make the Sussexes as vulnerable as possible. They also did everything they could to try to expose that vulnerability to anybody and everybody, especially anyone who would wish them harm. So the idea that Kerry Kennedy, someone who has seen firsthand the results of violence from some crazed lunatic or someone who has some ideology that is rather cray cray, she herself has seen the results of that in her own family. So for them to try to stare down or intimidate someone or try to expose someone as being perhaps very liberal or very what do you call it, secure in herself, very determined with her causes, to try to expose that as some kind of shortcoming. I think they picked the wrong person. I mean, you can see she's just the way she's standing there in that photo. I just feel like I could hang out with her. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I think we would get on very well, Carrie and I, because she seems to have the right stuff. That's all I'm saying. She just seems to have it, whatever it is. Leg says, "Isn't it weird that the tabloids that is rages, I'm tabloid rags that is, won't want to point out how how much security is, but security costs is always absent in their yearly budget." Yes, Legs. Yes, that is a good point. When they say how much it costs to maintain the royal family, because of security reasons, they won't even discuss how much security costs for the royal family, which you could probably add another third to the cost of their upkeep, if not more. But having 24-hour around the clock security is very expensive. And the Sussexes, along with having a safe and secure place to live, also has to travel with security. And they were going to need security for their children in the future. And so, considering all these things, the fact that people who are supposedly educated and should know better continue to target them with all of these negative stories and of course enabling the negativity on the social media. As a matter of fact, they seem to take their talking points from social media. I mean, the same tabloids that use talking points from the Twitter, for instance, in order to make their stories more relevant or to have someone else say what they really want to say and they just won't say it directly, that incites violence against people, especially a public figure. Those are the things that will incite violence against public figures. And they know this. They know this and they don't care because they are protected by the laws that say if it's in a public interest, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? There's a lot of things that's in the public interest. Like, for instance, Charles and Camilla. They are public figures, and we should be able to speak of them in any manner in which we choose, aside from, threatening rhetoric or whatever, but we should be able to speak of them in any manner in which we choose, and of course, have the right to do so. But what is going on in the United Kingdom is that even holding up a blank piece of paper as a protest, you are subject to arrest. Or yelling Neiman Marcus, not my king in Welsh, you are subject to arrest. I mean, all of these things will make you subject to arrest. They don't do it every time, but during the Queen's mourning period, there was definitely an uptick in trying to tamp down any type of dissension against the crown or against Charles directly or anybody else in the family, including that sick old man, Andrew. So thank you so much, Lex, for your comment. And thank you for the super chat and for watching Royal Sussex. Okay, so right here, the ripple of hope. Again, just looking at the way Carrie Kennedy is standing there, I just kind of feel like, you know what, I can hang out with her. Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Ripple of Hope Award 2022 Gala sponsorship opportunities. And so these are the amounts that people are able to spend at the gala. Of course, there's a 4 seats at the head table, will cost you $1 million. The leader, 4 seats at the head table, 1 premium table of 10 guests plus a distinct table of 10 guests, etc., and on and on. And those are the prices. And of course, there are people who are going to pay those prices to be a part of this experience. And I tell you, if I had the money, I'd be right up front myself. Thank you so much, Karen, for the super sticker. And thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. Happy Sunday to you. Oh, and thank you for being a member of Royal Sussex. So she said what she said. Carrie said what she said. This is the institution. This is the institution that the tabloids is defending. And it's interesting that upon the death of the Queen, not only have we revisited a lot of history where the Queen herself was involved, but the history of the empire, the history of the Commonwealth. Commonwealth Day was once called Empire Day. Up until the 1970s, when they finally realized, hey, we're just down to a handful of islands and territories, it was no longer the Empire Day, it became the Commonwealth Day. But this is the view of the empire that the royal family has had for centuries, and that is of this conquering. I believe that is supposed to be St. George. Some people interchange that with St. Michael. St. Michael, of course, slayed a demon. St. George seems to go after people of color, Black people in particular, I would imagine, and cast them straight to hell according to the flames that surround them. So this is emblematic of how the empire saw themselves, is that they were doing all of this in the name of the king, the head of the Church of England, and so on. So this is the institution that Carrie Kennedy realized that the Sussexes had spoke out against, and that they had a right to do that. And so she's honoring them for, as I said, doing something that in anybody's book is very dangerous. And as we can see by the way Princess Diana ended up, so dangerous that it can cost you your life. I mean, they are taking on a very large institution. Mostly, they just want to be left alone. But unfortunately, the institution seems to have set their dogs upon them. They have set their hounds on them. And so they will have to continue to defend themselves from the unseen hand, wherever it's coming from. But obviously, there is mischief afoot. And this Ripple of Hope Award is just a reminder that Harry and Meghan did the right thing by leaving that family. That was the right thing to do, because had they stayed, they would have had no protection whatsoever. At least by being away from that institution, being away from the United Kingdom, at least they have protection here. They have the likes of a Carrie Kennedy, who is more than willing to take whatever slings and arrows that comes with calling them out. And in her statement, that's exactly what she did. She called them out. And I guess what really bothers them so much is the fact that she was not afraid to do it. It was almost without effort, and she was not afraid to do it, and I guess that's, an affrontment to them, the fact that she was so able and so willing to just call them out, let the chips fall where they may. I love that. Let's see, is this the statement? Nope, that is not it. Okay, I'm thrilled to celebrate these incredible laureates at our upcoming Ripple of Hope Gala. Nope, that is not her statement. I'm looking for it. The award recognizes remarkable human rights defenders. That's not it either. Where is my Ripple of Hope statement? Oh, man. Okay, I thought it might be here. Okay, that is not a Ripple of Hope. That is disgusting. That is what, let me get rid of that one. Um, I was looking for my Ripple of Hope statement from Kerry Kennedy. Give me a second. I will find it so that we could. I'm so sorry, I did not have that prepared. Um, Although we have discussed it already, but it would have been the right thing to do to have it prepared for today. Oh, let me take that off the screen. Ripple of Hope. Oh man, I don't see it. Okay, but let me take some of your comments, and I will find it. Oh, also, what did I just notice here? There we are. So Marcel Kendrick says, I love the squatties. I have a high level of respect for you, Baron, for supporting and acknowledging other squatty channels. I just love your positive energy. I will always support your channel. Thank you so much, Marcel Kendrick. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the super sticker. And happy Sunday to you. And as always, thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. Happy Sunday. Okay, let me find Kerry Kennedy's statement. Kerry Kennedy's statement, Ripple of Hope. Okay. Oh, she's a lawyer. I just found that out. She's a lawyer. Okay. And Meghan and Harry. God bless her for doing this. Oh, and did you guys know that she was married to Mario Cuomo? I didn't know that, but of course, the tabloids wanted to make sure that we were aware that she was married to Mario Cuomo. Um, oh Lord. All right, that didn't work. To the lion's den I go. Oh man. Yeah, she was married. Let me see. Kennedy is the ex-wife of, now, of course, they had to use the word disgrace, former New York Governor Mario Cuomo. When she was married to him, gosh, that was a long time ago. I mean, they're absolutely young in that photo that they put in the paper there. So, you know, who cares? When it was time to go, she left. Let me see. Kennedy added that the Sussexes knew that if they did this, there would be consequences and that people would blame them for it. This is what Kerry said. They have done it. They have done it anyway because they believe. Oh Lord, hold on a second. All right. Because they believe they couldn't live with themselves if they didn't question this authority. I think they have been heroic in taking this step, she said. All right, so that's it. I'm sure that, anyway, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I know I have that statement somewhere tucked away, but looking at the magazine articles, the pages are jumping with ads. So, anyway, I lost track of it. All right, so that was it. She said she understood why they did what they had to do and that she thought it was heroic, and that's that. And so now the tabloids are trying to embarrass her as best they can. Elaine Parker, thank you so much for the super sticker, and thank you for being here as always. Thank you for watching Royal Sussex. So the tabloids are going after a Kennedy. Let me know how that works out. And not just any Kennedy, Carrie Kennedy, a very determined person, very well educated. And of course, they tried to use John, I'm sorry, Robert Kennedy Jr. to go after the Sussexes, but well, he has no say over who gets this honor. So that was a waste of time. So when that didn't work, I just guess they decided they would focus on her, and that will have little or no consequence, none whatsoever. She's a Kennedy, and she knows what the stakes are. So, anyway, let us move on, shall we? I got so much stuff to cover. I was looking at Claire Kane podcast before hurried here to see Barron today, but it was about Kate Middleton treatment of Duchess Meghan. It was great. Oh my God, I got to watch that then. I have not seen it yet. Thank you, Mary H. I have not seen it yet. The hound dogs think other people don't take notice of their constant gaslighting and media manipulation of the truth. And you know what, child? Thank you so much for saying that, because I'm going to say this. The younger people love to make fun of the young people because of their safe spaces. And of course, to a very small extent, there are some people that are into the pronouns and such. But this is what I have to say about that, is that because the younger generation seems to be more analytical about the way you speak to them and your intentions in your approach to them, that they are less likely to suffer the gaslighting effects that the older generation seems to be unaware of. I mean, of course, not all of us, but there are some of us in the older generation who don't even know when they are being brainwashed, when they are being gaslighted or gaslit or whatever. And especially the MAGA people, they tend to take whatever comes down the pike, as long as it means brown people will be fewer in numbers and will be excluded from entering the country, or pretty much anything that maintains a nationalistic ideal of what they think America should be. They don't seem to know the difference. There is a lot of things that happen in the greater world that never makes it on Fox News, and they don't care that it doesn't make it on Fox News. It's not supposed to. The whole point of it is to keep people afraid, to keep people engaged, so that only you can solve their problems by pointing out what they should be afraid of. It's incredibly destructive, and is really unhealthy for you through and through. Physically and mentally, it's unhealthy, but that is what sells, is to keep people afraid. So thank you, Chow. I think the younger generation, for certain, are not going to be as subject to the gaslighting that is happening or has happened, since I was a kid. Okay, Black Queen says, so they want to be the morality police when they have the whole vile cheating king who have his dirty side piece as his wife, as well as the alleged person running loose and a bunch of hypocritical losers. Yeah, that appears to be the case. I mean, he has his mistress with him on the throne. And I don't know any other way to put it. I don't take pleasure in saying that, but it's what it is. He has his mistress on the throne, and he's the head of the Church of England, but he has his mistress on the throne. Janice Goodrich says, you know what I realized, Baron? Baldy was cosplaying this event by putting his Earthlop function close to this date and using the Kennedy name just like the UN. Yes, they're using the Kennedy name. They're trying to tie in to that American royalty. Now, obviously, that is a bit of a stretch. We don't have a royal family, but to a couple generations of people, we looked at the Kennedys like they were the American royalty. And even the tabloids refer to them as American royalty. So, yes, they have no power. They're not even figureheads, but they are very important people where the country is concerned. And like, for instance, when Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis died, if I recall, I think Air Force One was used to bring her remains back to Washington, D.C. And when John Kennedy Jr. died, the Navy used one of their ships to bury him and his wife and sister in law at sea. Ted Kennedy was on board. So, yes, they're not American royalty, but anytime there is something that happens with that family is as though they were some form of aristocrat. So maybe that's why this bothers them so much. Maybe this is why they're so triggered. Um, and I believe that it just makes this statement by Stacey Solomon ring true just as much today as it did the first time I heard it. Okay. I said just as much as the first time I heard it. Okay, that didn't happen the way I wanted it to. Just as much as the first time I heard it. I said just as much as the first. Oh, okay.
I just don't get it. I don't get any of it.
What do you mean? You don't get what?
I don't get why we're so obsessed with these humans that are exactly the same. Like, it could be us four sitting there. I just don't get it.
But are you talking about what you mean as royals or as, like, Kim Kardashian? Because for me, they're becoming celebrities.
Well, yeah, to me, that's all they are.
The Queen
is their celebrity.
For me, is brilliant.
I love the Queen.
No, duty, responsibility.
She's always worked really hard, hasn't
I would
she?
work hard if the whole country paid for me to have like 12 houses and work really hard.
But they don't pay for all of the houses. But
just a few.
Yeah, so I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I'd work hard too. I love that. If you paid for me to have like 12 houses, I'd work hard too. Oh man, sometimes the best answer is the most simple answer. All right, so God save the people. During the Queen's mourning period, they said all of a sudden the homeless people disappeared around certain parts of London. And the reason why they disappeared is because they wanted to project a certain image to the world of how great and advanced London really is. And so they remove them, but leave it to the artists to say what some people find it difficult to say. And that, of course, is God save the people. And that's really what matters right now, is that this whole little soap opera that is produced by the tabloids about this family that we just don't get, there are people that are going to suffer terribly this coming winter in Britain, and paying some of the highest fuel costs, heating costs in all of Europe. Transportation is so expensive. The rail pass that I used when I was in the UK was incredibly expensive for me, but it was still less expensive because I purchased it in advance and I purchased it while in the United States. So I was able to save money buying a rail pass that is not even available to the people in the United Kingdom, which is outrageous. But so much of the transportation is subsidized in a lot of places. Like, you know, in the United States, most rapid transit systems are subsidized by the government. But in the United Kingdom, even if there are subsidies, the prices are outrageously high. I mean, it's expensive to travel in the UK, and to live in London, you know, an economic engine, terribly expensive. But we have to make sure we save the Queen, and now we have to make sure we save the King. Now, this much I'm pretty sure you can get. I've shared this with you before. I will share it again. Basit Mahmoud says, when a narrow section of society dominates our media landscape, it has an adverse effect on our democracy as well as our news values, which stories are told, how they are told, and what's deemed newsworthy and what isn't. I saw the damaging effects this had on my own community. So, when it comes to the journalists, 84% come from a higher socioeconomic level compared to just 16% who do not. And so pick or choose any of the people that write these stories in the tabloid media, and that gives you an indication of where their values lie, whose side they're on. They're certainly not on the side of the person laying on the ground there. They're not on the side of the people that are by law allowed to seek asylum in the United Kingdom or any place else in the Western industrial world. You are allowed to ask for asylum. That is not illegal. And no matter what anybody says to try to indicate otherwise, it is not illegal to seek asylum. They are not criminals. And then, of course, there's the editors. 73% of the editors come from a higher socioeconomic background. Again, this is why so many of the stories lean towards the very Tory values. And that's not to say that you don't have enough people in the Labor Party that either come from higher levels of income or forget where or from which they came. There's plenty of that too. Just like the Democrats love to pretend like they're the working man's party, but there's plenty of Democrats who have always had it good. They've never been hungry. They've never had their lights turned off. Marcel Kendrick became a new member. Thank you so much for that. And you know what's really cool? Usually this doesn't show up on the StreamYard. I would have missed that had I not seen it. I do have my other screen up, but for whatever reason, it is not showing up there. But thank you so much. Greatly appreciated. And thank you for being a member of Royal Sussex. And happy Sunday to you. Very, very cool. Thank you so much. Okay, so that is a statistic that I have shared with you guys before, and it still rings true. And this was from earlier this year that he wrote that on his Twitter page. And this is why I'm so afraid to lose Twitter, because losing Twitter, um, you know, some of the people that I follow and some of the information I get, I don't just stay in the echo chamber of certain groups or anything like that. But there's a lot of places where you can source information that is outside of the squad and outside of the usual groups and such. So, very essential that I hope Twitter is not lost forever. I hope that that person doesn't take a wrecking ball to Twitter and ruin everything, because It is a great source of information. Okay, so there we have. Oh, Louise. Thank you, Louise, for the super sticker, and thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. And if I could say it like Isabel Sanford on The Jeffersons. Wait, no, Louise. Okay, because I was going to try to say Louise like Louise, but no, she says, "Hi, Helen. George, the Willises will be here any minute." Uh, well, yeah, I love Louise on the Jeffersons, and because of her, I love the name Louise. So thank you so much for that, George. Oh man, but anyway, so there you have. I know Wheezy, right? Wheezy. There you have Joe Biden with his mom. His mom, a proud Irish woman, told him, ever, don't you ever bow to those royals. And so, anyway, um, I'm also wondering too, is this thing with Carrie Kennedy, is this like some type of anti-Irish thing that they have against her? I wonder. I wonder. I don't know. I mean, these are modern times, and I don't suspect that there is still that type of sentiment or prejudice in the UK. But I just want to point out that Kerry Kennedy is obviously of Irish heritage, just like Joe Biden's feisty mother, who would jump out of her grave and snatch him ball if he thought that he was ever showing any type of deference to that family. So, but I have to laugh because he looks just like his mother. God, he looks just like his mother. Um, that is so funny. It's cute, but it's so funny. God, does he look just like his mother? Um, oh man. But yeah, so I don't know if that may have something to do with it. I want to say I don't believe that that is the case, but you never know. It seems like the royal family rather like the Kennedys, but we're not talking about the royal family. We're talking about the tabloid press, the tabloid media. And so, is there still that type of bias or contempt there? I can't be for sure, but I'm just going to say I don't think that anything like that comes directly from the royal family. If it is any type of implied bias there or lack of tolerance because of Carrie Kennedy being of Irish descent. But anyway, that's a bit of a stretch, and I'm not going to just assume that because maybe that's just a bridge too far. But either way, is something about her that just seems to rub them the wrong way, and who knows what it is. Maybe it's the best answer is the most simple, and that is just that she's supporting the Sussexes, and that is enough to, I guess, trigger them. All right. Let me Let me take a look at a couple of comments before I continue. Mackenzie says, so glad he didn't take the meeting with that 24-hour prime minister. He might have caught that that bad juju, just like Her Majesty. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that that handshake. That handshake, she was able to do what that visit from Camilla and Charles could not do. So, if you understand what I'm saying. Oh man. Let me see. Donna Black said, by the way, thank you for your comment, McKenzie. Donna Black says Biden is not too keen on the royals. He's just showed respect to the queen because she probably reminded him of his mother. And of course, he was the president. He is the president of the United States. So that alone, it is just the right thing to do. You don't want to be disrespectful directly, but see, the Brexit thing, I think a lot of the Brexit is still a problem for the UK. The European Union have not made things easy for Britain. President Obama tried to reason with them because if you are not a part of the union, then you're competition. And that's the problem with being outside of the European Union is that when they pass a law, it has to benefit the union first. It's not as though they're like going after the UK, but the laws have to benefit the European Union first. Our American laws benefit us first. Canadian laws benefit them first. That is just the natural course of things. And so by having the Brexit, it puts you at odds with about 500 million people of Europe. What is the European Union? Like 520 million people? At least it was before the UK left. So let's say it's like 490 million people that make up the European Union versus 66 million people of the UK. They're supposed to benefit the European Union first. Now, there's still the NATO and other agreements, but that's what makes this so bad. And who's paying the price? The working class people of Britain. That to me is just lunacy. But take something that isn't broke and break it, and then the working class people suffer. Oh man, that's unfortunate. Let me see here. Hey Sean, the Queen said, oh, I'm sorry. The Queen said she liked that picture of herself. I can't get what is that? Get or 8 to 10 and a few wallet. Oh, an 8 by 10 and a few wallet size. I think I know which photo you're referring to. Let me see if that would be worth someone putting in their wallet. Let me see. Let me take a look, Sean. I see what you mean. That is worth printing out and putting in one's wallet and sharing with one's family. One more time. I love that photo. This is the go-to photo for the Queen on those thumbnails on the hate channels. Queen gives Meghan ultimatum. Queen kicks Harry and Meghan out. Now, even though they've been gone for years now, they still have thumbnails that say the Queen kicked them out. Oh man. Okay, so here we have let me see. Baron, the royal family are scared of the media. They are the kingmakers to hide their numerous scandals to make them popular, preserve their image. Annual party is on the way to confirm invisible contract. Yes, they have that Christmas party coming up. That unofficial, is it unreported Christmas party where the tabloid media have a chance to go and rub shoulders with the likes of Charles and his emotional support, Camilla, and dance and celebrate and eat for free like Robert Jobson loves to do. And of course, as long as they play the game, then they can win. But if they go against them, then it's hell to pay. Yeah, so you're right about that. That party is coming up. Charles tears up wedding day pledge to make Prince Edward the Duke of Edinburgh. Palace sources say Earl of Wessex won't get his late father's title because it would be passed down to his son, James, and ruin the king's hopes for his slimmed down monarchy. Now, on Accession Day 2022, the 70th anniversary of Her Majesty's reign, the Queen made a statement practically begging people to accept Camilla as the Queen consort. Now, Charles made promises in the past, like Queen Camilla, the Queen consort, would not be known as the Princess of Wales. Okay, they kept that promise. Too soon? Yes, it was. So they kept that promise. He also, I believe, didn't he promise that he wasn't going to marry her in the first place? And then, of course, upon reign as King Charles III, he would not allow her to use the title Queen or Queen Consort. She would be known as Princess Consort, right? That was the agreement. Only for the Queen to become incredibly frail. And this is what someone pointed out. I have been saying this for the longest, but the Queen died months after this photo was taken of her with the red box. She died within the same year that this was taken. The Queen probably knew that she was near death. And in spite of that, she's at her red box. They submit this photo so that you all will know that she is still in charge and the reigning monarch, and that it is her request that people recognize Camilla as Queen Consort. Obviously, being in the state that she was, we don't know what her cognitive abilities were at that point. We have no idea what she was watching on television, what she was reading, or what type of information she was taking in. So much so that Prince Harry even publicly said, and I don't want this to get lost as how important this is. Prince Harry went on the record of saying, I want to make sure she has the right people around her and that she's being taken care of. Now, that is bold. That actually should be bigger than the Oprah Winfrey interview because it implied that the Queen of the United Kingdom was not safe. That was huge. And the media did not make a big fuss about it. They, tepidly played a little bit of into it, but otherwise they didn't have much to say. That was huge. What is implied by the fact that the Queen may not be safe? This is what Harry said, that his grandmother may not be safe. And even though she's in that vulnerable state, we get this big statement that absolves any of the things that happened in the past with Camilla. It was like the whole Camilla Gate never happened. It was as though Camilla's inroad into the family was like that of any other royal princess, future queen, which certainly it wasn't. That was his mistress. And now she's on the throne. She's going to go through the most sacred of events, you guys. The most sacred of events, the coronation, where you are anointed with oil, where you have water brought from the River Jordan and all that stuff. It is a very sacred 1,000-year-old event. Donna Black, what is you saying to me every time I see that picture of the Queen? But yes, it is. Thank you, Donna Black. I saw Bram Stoker's and I'm just like, what? Okay. It is the most sacred of events. And yet Camilla is going to be a part of it. And I don't want to pick on her. He's going to be a part of it. This philandering, power tripping weasel of a person is going to be anointed. He's going to receive the anointings. That is very serious. And the queen, who by all indication took very serious her position as the head of the church, had nothing to say but sit back and give it her blessing. Now, how in the world did they make that happen? There must have been some form of coercion or flimflammery or something. Did she even know that that statement was made? It seemed like the older she got, the less power, the less influence, the less prestige her position was within the kingdom, because it was though her position was already taken over by Charles. I've been saying for the longest, he has been acting as a regent in all but name only. He has been the prince regent of the United Kingdom. And the queen did not seem to have very much say over anything that happened. Let's see. Black Pearl says, Baron, remember that after the Australian tour, the tabloids wrote, the aristocrats decided to not invite Sussexes for dinner parties. Now they're rich and in the USA. Yes, we don't need your parties. Wherever we go, they are the party. They are. And I'm pretty sure, Black Pearl, that to a great extent, Harry and Meghan didn't care, because the aristocrats had already made up their mind about Meghan. Harry realized how deep the racism was because of how often people's body language, the way the tone of their voice changed whenever Meghan was brought up or whenever she was in the room. So he already knew that there was no going back. He had already knew that there was no connection with those people anymore. And the idea that, oh, he gave up some childhood friends, I don't know whether or not that's true, but I know that there were snobs that hated Kate and her sister. And those same snobs are the ones that have to curtsy to Kate. Those are the same snobs that now have to lick her boots. And as long as she stays on the right side of William, she will continue to have that privilege. It must have been incredible for her to have gone from being a joke amongst the aristocrats to their queen in waiting. But that is exactly what happened. Kate was not favored upon by the aristocrats. As a matter of fact, she and her whole family were a big joke. Uncle Gary and her seemingly interesting brother, and of course her sister Pippa, all of them were like a big joke. The Wisteria sisters, the mediocre Middletons, I gave them that nickname. The mediocre Middletons, that's what they were. And they said that William, this is what they said, and you know they always right, that William broke up with Kate, giving the other women within the aristocracy a crack at him, and nobody showed up. Nobody was interested. Nobody cared. William made himself available so that any woman who thought that he was trapped in this relationship with jazz hands would know that he was available. And they said nobody showed any interest. There were no families coming forward saying, oh, please, you weirdo, please marry our daughter. Please turn her into a Stepford wife. Please. That didn't happen. So he was stuck with giggles. He was stuck with the petrified forest of hair, Kate Middleton. At that point, he was stuck with her, because by the time he was ready to marry, people had already seen who William was as a person, and they found him wanting in his character, and nobody wanted him. That is what happened with that story. I believe that to be true. I do. I really do believe that to be true, is that people had a chance to take a good measure of him and decided, nah, it ain't even worth it. He's worse than his father. It's not even worth it. Don't bother. So that's exactly what happened. So angry, furious, Incandescent with rage, William seemed to have not been able to, find a aristocratic woman who would marry him. So at that point, he was stuck in that relationship, which I have referred to as bed knobs and broomsticks. So I was so curious about that. I didn't know where that came from. And then I found this thanks to the intrepid, enterprising Sussex squad. The Queen has today been pleased to come. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me start at the top. All right. So, oh man, I still can't see that. All right. The following announcement is issued by the press secretary to the Queen. The Queen has today been pleased to confer an earldom on the Prince Edward. His title will be Earl of Wessex and Viscount Severn. The Prince Edward thus becomes His Royal Highness the Earl of Wessex, and Miss Sophie Rhys-Jones, on marriage, will become Her Royal Highness the Countess of Wessex, which is where she remains, by the way. The Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh, and the Prince of Wales have also agreed that the Prince Edward should be given the Dukedom of Edinburgh in due course when the present title, now held by Prince Philip, eventually reverts to the crown. That is very important. Stick a pin in that one. Eventually reverts to the crown. The Queen has also decided, with agreement of Prince Edward and Miss Rhys-Jones, that any children they might have, should not be given the style His and Her Royal Highness, but would have courtesy titles as son or daughters of an earl. To be released 12 noon, British Standard Time, Saturday, the 19th of June, 1999. So I'm guessing that was the non-binary prince's wedding date, right? They got married that day. So that is the press release, right? That is the press release that was issued on behalf of the Prince Edward and his future wife, Sophie Rhys-Jones. How do you like that? Charles III, Sarah says, Charles III is proving to live up to his namesake. When the Queen was sick and frail, he made her publicly announce Mistress Camilla will be Queen. Chuck then turns around and disrespects his dead parents' wishes by refusing to give Edward the Duke of Edinburgh title. And if you look up here, Anita from My Duke and I says, Charles III Charles III is a vindictive, jealous, insecure weasel. May all his evil deeds return to him 1,000-fold. And then, of course, the other squatty here says, him being himself, I am not surprised by his royal nastiness. Please, y'all, tell me what you really feel. Oh, man. You know what, guys? If you haven't seen yesterday's Royal Sussex, we had a great laugh at the expense of those Wessexes, and well-deserved. Isn't that something? Just as I was about to say it, Ed and Sophie got what they deserved, karma, but this is still a move on Chucky's part. Ed and Sophie should stop being so-called working royals. I agree. Let's see. Sherry Thorne says, I noticed how the Queen signed that document, your servant. She never signed anything that way before. The late Queen Mary was not impressed with the Queen and Prince Philip. Um, you guys, I told y'all that I felt like there was a bit of a sleight of hand with this whole thing about the queen consort. Why did it take until the queen was frail and near death before that came out? Why did that happen at a time when she was barely seen publicly, and then the last few months of her life barely seen at all? When the queen took that photo, she was already in a bad way. And by the time she died, Charles had moved a lot of pieces in place and had probably years in advance already known exactly. Well, I mean, he had nothing else to do, did he? So this queen on Accession Day 2022, the 70th anniversary of Her Majesty's reign, was in such a state. I mean, yes, caked with makeup, suffering a debilitating joint pains and such from whatever her ailments were. But they said that she had that her veins, her blood vessels were um, weak or something to the point where there was very little blood flow to her extremities, and that caused a great deal of joint pain, and it made it difficult for her to move. And so, if the doctors who examined these circumstances are correct, that she may have been in a lot of pain, and sometimes when people are in pain and they want relief, you can pretty much get anything done that you need done, so long as, and I will leave that blank, um, or it could have just been a matter of old age and a cognitive decline. 96 years of age is okay. Rita Moreno is about to direct a play at 90, but the Queen is no Rita Moreno. All right. Not a play, but a movie. Rita Moreno, the EGOT winner, is about to direct a movie at age 90. The Queen was no Rita Moreno. So I'll just say that. Okay. Moving along, let me get rid of this Accession Day photo. So that is why Edward thought he was getting that title, is because of this. She thought, she, them, they thought they were getting that title because it was promised. But Charles had other ideas. That's the long and the short of it. Charles had other ideas, and what Charles says goes. Oh, man. Well, I do have something to say about the corgis, and that is coming up in due time, but points to you for that. I love it. I told you they threatened her corgis. All right. All right. Thank you so much for that comment. Was it Gail Anita? Thank you so much for that. That sounds about as logical as anything else I've heard so far. All right. So moving on. There we go. So Sarah also went on to say, and by the way, I hope leering and trying to stare down Meghan at the funeral, I hope it was worth it, because Meghan is the Duchess of Sussex as well as Princess Henry of Wales, Princess Meghan. So I hope all that staring and leering and all that menacing and stuff, I hope it got you what you wanted, Sophie, because you have gone as far as you're ever going to go in that family. You are not going to advance to any great positions outside of where you are right now, the Countess of Wessex. So, this is about Edward. And no, she wasn't able to bestow it in Edward only. Charles could as the title automatically went to the eldest son or the oldest son. When Charles became king, the title reverted back to the crown and can be given to someone else. So it wasn't for the queen to do at that time, because just so you guys are clear, this is how I understand it. The title belonged to Philip. When Philip died, the title went back to the crown, right? The title went back to the crown. At this point, the queen has about a year to live herself. And in that year, she was in poor health and had been for some time, quiet as is kept, but she was really advancing in age, had poor health, and possibly in a state of mental decline, seeing that Harry was worried about who was around her and how was she being treated. And these appearances of her with these horrible bruises and such from whatever medical treatment or illness that she had. I'm not even going to go there and say that she was being abused, but I'm just saying she was in a poor state of health, right? So the title reverts back to the crown. And when Charles became king, the title reverted back to the crown. So, okay, when Charles became king, according to Sarah, the title reverted back to the crown. And then Sarah goes on to say, this has nothing to do with anyone but Charles. The point is to calm out media hypocrisy in framing Charles as some righteous king when he is petty, self-loathing little man who've made his entire family's life hell, including his own son. And that really describes it as well as anything I could imagine, is that, yes, he's this petty little man who has made life hell for everybody else around him. But unfortunately for the other people in the family, Charles is the one that's holding all the cards. And even though there was this push, and I do think it was a serious push to try to shame him or humiliate him from the throne, so far that hasn't worked, because he's holding all the power right now, and that's just the way it is. He inherited the Duchy of Lancaster, and he inherited that title. The title went to Charles. The title, the queen gave the title, so she couldn't take she probably could not take a title that she gave to someone else as her own. It went reverting to the crown means that it just, I guess, lies in abatement until such time as the next sovereign decides to give it to someone else. I mean, it would be weird for her to take the title from her dead husband and take it to herself and then give it to her son. But that's the process that it would have taken for her to do that for him. But whatever agreements was ironed out on this day in 1999, notice the date, 1999, surely the Wessexes thought they were entitled to what was promised to them on their wedding day. So he accepted a lesser title because the son of the sovereign automatically gets a dukedom. But he was promised that if he waited, that he would become a duke, but only when his father dies. And so he waited. And that's a great title to pass on to his son, Viscount Severin. But now it's not going to happen because Charles said otherwise. So again, before I move on, take a look at Sophie with those daggers coming out of her eyes, looking at the back of Meghan with such contempt. And look at where she is today. She was gone to Africa for 2 weeks and nobody was the wiser. Take a look at her right there, staring and leering. And oh, she's so formidable, isn't she? Oh, she was so tough. She's sitting up there with that very provincial looking hat, looking so tough. And oh boy, she really gave her a piece of her mind, didn't she? Sat in the car with that something stink look on her face and everything. Even Charlotte is looking like, what the F is wrong with you? Even Charlotte can't figure out what's going on. And Louis don't even want to be there. So I'm not even going to start. Well, not Louis, but George. He don't even want to be there. And of course, superior and above it all, Her Serene Majesty, Highness, future Queen, um, the other one back there, dumb as a box of rocks. She's just trying to maintain composure, even though she wants to laugh because of all the new jewelry that she just received. So, Camilla, she's probably wondering, how much time do I have left? All of those things are going on. And Sophie, all she could think of is, let me see if I can't stare her down. All right. King Charles told the Wessexes that they'll never, they'll never get the title of Edinburgh, the Edinburgh title. You'll never get it, ever, 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 and never is a long time, but you'll never get that title. As long as my hands are puffy and disgusting, you will never get that title. As a matter of fact, I imagine Louis going to get it someday, but whoever gets it, one thing I know for sure, it won't be the Wessexes. The Wessexes are just out of luck. They're out of luck, and they're out of time, and they're certainly out of those titles. Alma Andrews, thank you so much for the super sticker, and thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. And happy Sunday to you. Thank you so much for being here. It's greatly appreciated. Let me see here. Let me find that story. Aha! Kaiser at Celebrity. There we go. So Kaiser penned that story about the titles. Let me see. How long ago was that? Yeah. There it is right there. There it is. So let's see what Kaiser has to say about this. Shortly after Prince Philip died last year, the Earl and Countess of Wessex went on a full throttle PR tour. They were given interviews. They were working with friendly royal journalists. They were prancing around doing photo ops. What was it all about? Well, once Prince Philip passed away, Edward was supposed to inherit the Duke of Edinburgh title, and Sophie was supposed to become the Duchess. Sophie was supposed, wait. Sophie was supposed to become the Duchess of Edinburgh. Maybe that's why she was so upset. Maybe that's why she had that look on her face like, I can't believe she's a duchess and I will never be a duchess. Maybe that's why she was so upset. Whatever it was, don't blame the black girl. Edward was supposed to inherit the Duke of Edinburgh title, and Sophie was supposed to inherit the Duchess of Edinburgh. When Edward and Sophie married, there were negotiations behind the scenes about their titles. And basically, Edward agreed to the lesser title of the Earl of Wessex with the assurance that he would eventually become the Duke of Edinburgh. The problem is that once Prince Philip passed away, his title reverted back to the crown, and it was immediately inherited by the then Prince Charles. Charles would have given up the Duke of Edinburgh title and agree with his mother's scheme to make Edward the Duke of Edinburgh. Charles refused. Hilariously, Charles also let it be known that he found the Wessexes' whole PR tour rather distasteful and tacky. If that's not the height of arrogance, you mean to tell me the man who put his mistress to put that silky chicken head on the throne finds something distasteful and tacky? Really? You found something distasteful and you found something distasteful and tacky? Your whole marriage is the epitome of distasteful and tacky. It's the embodiment of distasteful and tacky. No wonder the queen needed a little something to calm her nerves toward the end. No wonder. I understand now. Distasteful and tacky? Really? Ah! Ah! Oh man. That's okay. So that didn't stop Sophie from trying to revive that same campaign once Queen Elizabeth II died in September. Though, well, it looks like Charles has formalized the whole thing now. The Wessexes will never be the Edinburghs. So that's that. Edward and Sophie's children will still have titles, just not royal titles. Lady Louise will remain Lady Louise, and James is currently Viscount Severin. And I'm pretty sure that James will become the Earl of Wessex when his father passes. Now there was some talk when Queen Elizabeth was alive that Lady Louise could choose to become styled as a princess, as all monarchs' grandchildren by the male heirs are supposed to be. It was up to Louise, and when she turned 18, she didn't take advantage of it when she had the chance. I don't know if that's still an option now that she's merely the niece of the king. So there you go. Again, the niece of the king. As for poor Edward and Sophie, oh, I love this part. I love this part. I'm not even sure what's coming next, but when it starts off, as for poor, when it starts off as for poor, or as I would say, as for Poe, Edward, and Sophie getting screwed over by Charles, well, we always knew that Charles was a deeply petty man. I don't even think that Charles wants the Wessexes to be full-time working royals anymore. And I'm sure their sovereign grant allowance will likely deeply slash too. It is kind of effed up that Edward, Sophie, Queen Elizabeth II, and Philip all agreed that the Edinburgh title should go to Edward, and then Charles was just like, nope. So, Poe, Edward, and Sophie, all that scheming, all those stairs, and all that pompousness. And what did you get out of it? Nothing. As a matter of fact, you about to take a pay cut. Okay, so let me get caught up on the comments. There's something deeply wrong about what's going on back. I'm sorry. There's something deeply wrong about going back on a promise to the dead. I don't know why Charles III can't just do something nice. Sometimes it is about humoring people. He doesn't know let me see. Yeah, he doesn't know what he'll need for them. He doesn't know what he'll need them for. True, he may need them in the future, but he still has the York sisters who haven't been working. Maybe he can make them an offer they can't refuse. I mean, after all, both of them are married and have stable family units, so they could definitely project to the younger generation. And there has been suggestion about that. So, yeah. But Sophie and they're kind of washed up. But you're right, though. But anyway, thank you so much for the comment, Lauren Brown. Let's see. The no prince or princess titles either, unless Charles agrees. Those kids are now the niece and nephew of the king, not the grandchildren. Exactly, Kathy G. That's exactly what I was going to say next. Is that those are his niece and nephew, not his grandchildren. Mercedes Todd says, I couldn't blame the Wessexes if they just stopped doing any work for Chuckles the clown. but they depend on him for their livelihood. So they're they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. They are. Absolutely, they are. Marshall says Megan outranks Sophie. Say it again, Marshall. Megan outranks Sophie. Ford Fiesta has to curtsy to the biracial Black American woman, Duchess of Sussex, each and every time she is in her presence. I would make sure she curtsied to me if I was Megan. Um, I think you're right about that, especially in particular the way the protocol goes, if your husband is not around, which he rarely is, then of course, when you are in the presence of a senior royal, you are supposed to curtsy. So, yes, absolutely. All right, you guys. Let me continue here. Get that. All right. So, one of the squatties who when I thought it was her personal name or his personal name, I covered it up, but it says bandwagon jumpers only pretending to love Wessexes because they dislike Megan need to do their homework. Maybe there's a reason Eddie and Fiesta of Wessex aren't getting another title. The pair have been a laughing stock until Megan came along. Now, this story that this squatty shared is from the 4th of October, 2001. This article ran in The Guardian and it mentioned a few things about their past. Like, for instance, Sophiegate, 2001. Sophie speaks to the news of the world's fake chic. She was allowing access for some form of gift. She was allowing access as well as bad mouthing the royal family. And I mean, she said some pretty juicy things about them. And somehow the royal family, they um, managed to forgive her. And then, of course, there's Ardengate, September 2001, Prince Edward's TV company, Ardent production, continued filming at Prince William's University. Now, the press, the mainstream press, agreed that they would leave the kids alone, meaning Harry and William, that they would leave Harry and William alone in exchange for the, obligatory Christmas photos, the occasional interview, etc., etc. And so that agreement was airtight until Edward came up with this scathing plan to get into television production. The stuff that the Sussexes have been successful, producing stuff. Well, that's what he wanted to do. And just so you guys know, Sophie's background is in PR. Shut the front door. Did I just say PR? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. That stupid individual is supposed to be a PR person. No wonder she didn't survive. Well, so The Guardian wrote an article about them a long time ago about their shenanigans. And so in that article, it lays out many a reason why these things may be happening to them today. So in 2001, they were quite the scandal, the two of them, and continued to be here and there for quite some time. And so it was very hypocritical of Edward to try to get this production company going and to try to skirt the rules that were promised and put in place to protect Harry and the other person. They had put those in place to protect them, but he, a member of the royal family, was bold enough and kind of cuckoo enough to violate something that was supposed to keep them safe from the press intrusion. And so he he had been Edward had been at odds with the press for quite some time. Like, for instance, he had put on some type of like reality show or variety show, some ridiculous thing. And when the press was the least bit critical of it, he went ballistic on camera because they criticized this stupid little game that they put together. And even Afro Annie participated. I mean, he had the cooperation and everything, but what he was lacking was talent. That was something that was not abundant or even available to him. It was nowhere in sight. And so when the press criticized him, he turned red in the face and started jumping around like Roger Rabbit. Oh, it was embarrassing. And so after that, that's when the family agreed, okay, maybe, just maybe, we shouldn't let them do stuff. And so I think at that time, they increased their official duties or something like that. But Edward was still young at the time, and he should have solidified his place as a working royal to a greater extent at that time, but he did not. And so now a lot of people don't even know that that's the Queen's fourth child. The non binary prince is the Queen's fourth child. And a lot of people don't even know that he exists. They only know the other three. So that gives you an indication of what his impact has been thus far. And as for his wife, aside from the humiliation, like the incident of the topless photo and all that kind of stuff surfacing, she hasn't contributed much to the family either. So then you guys may be thinking, oh, is this the first time that there's been a charm offensive? No, it hasn't. It's not the first. Look at this. Oh, look at Sophie. She riding around with the Queen, and she even got a hat taller than what the Queen wears, and she's smiling and going to church with the Queen. Lord have mercy. That's the Queen's good girlfriend. They gonna braid each other's hair and talk about boys and watch television and stuff like that. Ooh, that's the Queen's good girlfriend. All of that, and still she's not a duchess. All those early Sunday morning calls to go to church and stuff, and she still ain't a duchess. I mean, literally, bringing the Queen butterscotch and admiring her hats, and then she goes get a big hat. She done went and got her a hat like she on Bonanza or something. She done went and got herself this big gigantic hat, trying to identify with the Queen, and the Queen was just like, "Ew." What an interesting hat. And that was about the end of it. I mean, it's just, what is the point? She thought that this was going to carry the day, but it certainly did not. And so eventually, those trips to church with the Queen ended almost as soon as they started. And so she was written up in the paper. She had little secret agreements, allegedly, with some members of the press where they would say, "Oh, Sophie has become quite important to the Queen. The Queen relies heavily on Sophie." She was even mentioned as one of the Magnificent Seven, someone that the Queen can rely upon. And all of that was for naught because the Queen could do absolutely nothing when it came time for them to receive that title. And I guess this little show of support was supposed to impress Charles whenever he became king, that he would keep that promise, but it did not work. Edward and Sophie, Order of the Banana Skin. Edward and Sophie have artlessly managed to bring both their professions and royalty and PR into disrepute. The best punishment, let them be ignored from now on. That is what was said in the article by the Guardian back in 2001. is the best thing to do is to ignore them. And it seems as though somebody with gigantic ears, someone with ears that look like the Hubble telescope, was listening and decided, yes, I'll ignore them. Somebody raised up that big Hubble telescope ear. Oh, really? Camilla, the Guardian said I should just ignore them. By the way, do you think I should wear a double-breasted suit? Well, of course, he always wears a double-breasted suit. No matter how hot it is, he always wears that suit. But yeah, so much for the Wessexes. Yes. Uh-oh. There we go. VS Speaks Royally says karma is sweet and giving them all over. I'm giving them all over the exactly what they deserve. Absolutely. And hello to you, Miss VS Speaks. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so let me find that article. There it is. Okay, so it says, until this week, remember this is 2001, it was thought that impossible that anyone could carry on in life ignoring 5 days of insults shoveled up in the newspaper. Oh, this must be about what's her name? The Wrath of Prince Charles and polite advice from the PR pros. Will Eddie ever learn? The answer after his decision to kick BBC Queen Jeannie Bond out of a photo opportunity is clearly no, not ever. So this week, MediaGuardian.com awards Prince Edward a Lifetime Achievement Award for disservice to PR, how not to handle a crisis. So apparently they wanted him to do a photo op and he kicked him out. I'm telling you, you guys think that Charles is the one that has a bad temper. I showed you yesterday the real Eddie. Didn't I show you yesterday? As a matter of fact, where is that? Where are my slides from yesterday? I showed you that you never really know a person. Let me find that. Let me find it. That's Edward. That's Edward. I told you he gives me that energy. He gives me that Alfred Hitchcock psycho energy. Woo! He gives me that Alfred Hitchcock psycho energy every time. All I can think of is Anthony Perkins at the end of that movie. All I can think of is Anthony Perkins at the end of that movie. Every time. This is, I mean, he's been waiting, brooding, hoping that somehow, some way, that things are going to change for him. We don't even know that you exist, fourth child of the Queen. You product of a geriatric pregnancy. We didn't even know you exist. Your mama was almost a pensioner when you were born. How do we even know that you exist? Shelly L says, ma'am, it's time to prepare for your ride with Sophie. And Sophie, I'm going to need a bigger hat. Woo! Speaking of which, look, I got you covered. I got you covered where that's concerned. How's this for hats? How's that for hats? Was she really going there? Was she really going there? Was she really trying to outrank the Queen with big hats? Is that what her goal was, to try to outrank the Queen with big hats? That could not have helped her case. That could not have helped. That is not helpful. How is that helpful? I ask you, how is that helpful? Oh Lord, you guys, I still got a bit to cover, so I gotta let me get back here because I have been all over the place. Thank you so much, Shelly L, for the super chat, and as usual, thank you for watching Royal Sussex. I'm so sorry I'm missing so many of your comments. I'm on a roll. Charles tears up Queen's wedding day pledge to make Prince Edward the Duke of Edinburgh. Palace sources say Earl of Wessex won't get his late father's title because it would pass down to his son James and ruin Charles' hopes for a slimmed down monarchy. And of course, when I read that, all I could think of are the Queen laughing, Camilla laughing, everybody having a good laugh. I mean, I'm sure that Camilla and Charles, Camilla, can you, can you believe what gall he thought he would? Camilla. Woo! I am having too much fun today. But again, all of those nasty stares and glaring at Meghan at the funeral and trying to make a duchess a real bona fide duchess as decreed by the queen herself, to try to make a duchess feel uncomfortable when you're just a countess of Wessex, and you're trying to stare her down as though you're so above it all with your short-lived PR firm career and bad mouthing the royal family and being in a workplace that was full of party favors, and you're trying to look down your very prim and proper nose at someone as if let's see. Super sticker. Thank you so much, FK24, for the super sticker. And thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. VS says the karma's coming for King Charles III is going to be something else. It is. It is. I mean, it starts with people embarrassing him by saying you're not my king, but where will it end? How does this end for him? Lucy Highland, thank you so much for the super sticker, and thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. Happy Sunday to you, and thank you also for being a member of Royal Sussex. So there they are, the laughing stock. I bet you Charles and Camilla, I bet you they lay in the bed and just get to crying and just get so tickled and start talking about hygiene products. And Camilla, she gets so tickled. I mean, her tongue just started hanging out and her tiara started tilting sideways. Camilla just gets so tickled. I mean, she just gets so tickled, and her tongue is protruding. She started baring her teeth and oh yeah, flapping her tail around, swatting away the flies and such. That is how amusing it is to her that she can barely contain herself. Oh man, after a while they have to let her out so she can get a good run to do something with all that energy that she done built up from laughing so hard. Okay, and so she's wearing I want to say she's wearing Bruce Oldfell, but the Countess of Wessex is feeling a little frayed. Sophie outburst at bodyguard outside of bridal shop. I mean, look at Sophie. When was this story? This story was from 2011. So I don't know what occasion this was, but Sophie was photographed and it was shared online that she was like having this big outburst against one of the security people. I mean, she plays so nice and sweet and innocent, but the truth is, she's a monster. And then, of course, no discernible skills, bankrupt company, 1.7 million unpaid debts, allegedly, and married Ed. Kerching! Kerching! They even added the cash register sound. Kerching! But you know who wasn't in debt when they married into the family? Do you know who is a duchess and continues to be a duchess and was a duchess upon wedding day? Of course, Meghan. Meghan was not in debt. Meghan did marry a prince, and she is the Duchess of Sussex and Prince Henry of Wales. And of course, she still retains the title Her Royal Highness. Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, the Countess of Dumbarton, and or the Countess of the something of Kill, whatever. She's all that stuff. What I'm trying to say is she's so many things that Sophie Wessex is not, including a duchess. LDSW, thank you so much for the super sticker, and thank you for being a member and watching Royal Sussex. Joan Garcia says, Baron, when the next stop on your comedy, okay, when's the next stop on your comedy tour? I want to get my tickets. I don't know. As long as I get Sophie and what's his name, Edwina, I think I could just be on any subway, any corner, or I can go down to a comedy shop. I can take this on the road, literally. Well, thank you for the nice compliment, and thank you, Joan Garcia, for the super chat and for being a member of Royal Sussex. Happy Sunday to you. Okay, so it reminds me, and I'm so glad I found this because I keep my receipts. Sophie Wessex news. Countess shows she's ready to take over for Meghan Markle and Harry. Well, actually, it's Prince Harry, His Royal Highness Prince Harry, and Her Royal Highness Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. But I digress. But anyway, Sophie is supposed to be ready to take over. Well, she may be ready, but the one thing she don't have is the title of Duchess. So Sophie and the Count of Wessex, the what is this? Oh, the Earl of Wessex. They still have to eat at the kids' table this Thanksgiving. They'll have to eat at the children's table because they are not allowed to eat with the rest of the royals because they're not even a duke or duchess. So they don't get to eat with the senior royals. They have to stay in their lane. So that's it. Okay, so and of course she can go back to her little trolling Meghan where they whisper about her and conspire behind her back and everything. Go on. We good. You can keep doing you, boo. Keep doing you. And of course, the Queen. Now, you guys, if you guys are feeling kind of sorry for Sophie Wessex, and I suppose some of you may have some sympathy for her plight, the Queen did not neglect Sophie. The Queen did make sure that Sophie and, of course, him, she did make sure that they still had some things to look forward to. Like, for instance, Sophie seems to have had an affection for the Queen's corgis, and she also loves to have uh the a nice hat because after all, ladies in the royal family do wear hats, right? And so I believe that realizing that, the Queen instructed some of the courtiers to go outside and pick up some of the droppings from her beloved corgis as a way as a way to make sure that Sophie has something to remember the Queen, the corgis, and her royal life well into the future during the period of Elizabeth II. So Elizabeth Regina was able to find the appropriate gift, something that says, hey, I like hats, you like hats. I like my corgis, you like them too. Um, Here, wear this. No, wear it. And so, if you're wondering what's under that hat, maybe she had this hat created so that it can hide this hat. So when the queen say, "Are you wearing the hat, dear?" "Yes, I'm wearing it. It's under here." Woo! Oh man, I tell you, that looks like mid-century architecture if I've ever seen it. But um, oh man, poor Sophie. Poor Sophie. I mean, she thought she was gonna be a duchess, and all she came up with was a big turd. She has nothing to show for all those years of conspiring and whispering and bad mouthing the royal family and all that stuff. She has so little to show for it. All those trips to church and all that boot licking and what have you. Nothing to show for it. Not a lot. Well, I mean, she still got that her blue jumpsuit. I'm sure she was able to get that with some of the sovereign grant money. She was able to go and get that blue jumpsuit. But like I say, whenever I think of Sophie, I think Dust Bowl. I see Sophie and think Dust Bowl. She just reminds me of that poor woman, that poor downtrodden, poverty-stricken woman from the Dust Bowl era of the Great Southwest. Okay, so moving on, you guys. Today is Joe Biden's birthday. Here's one of my favorite photos of President Joe Biden at the age of 25 in 1967. There is Joe Biden, age 25, right? Tall, handsome Joe Biden, age 25. By the way, you guys, we need a little break beat, don't we? So I can take a sip of my beverage. Hit it. So, this is around the time when Joe Biden had just got into Congress or was on his way to Congress. I think at this time they had just, the ink on the Louisiana Purchase was probably still wet when Joe Biden entered Congress. That was decades ago. But yeah, so Thomas Jefferson purchased the Louisiana Territory, and I think that Captain Cook. Well, anyway, that was Joe Biden at age 25. So happy birthday, Mr. President, and many happy returns of the day. Now, I don't know what Joe Biden is describing in that photo, and I don't want to know what he's describing in that photo, but I, I don't know who Joe Biden was trying to impress, but we hear you, sir. We hear you. Happy birthday, Mr. President. And then, of course, no matter how they have tried to make a fool out of Joe Biden, one thing is for sure: he belongs to a very exclusive club. He was and continues to be a president of the United States. And forever, that is the title that will be associated with his name: President Joe Biden, Joseph Robinette Biden. And as Joe Biden said when he went to Florida after the hurricane, nobody, that is, no one F's with Joe Biden. No one F's with Joe Biden. 80 years young and still going strong. So, as a way to try to destroy Joe Biden, as you can see here, they raised the oil prices and then they lowered them immediately after the midterm elections. And either way, guess what? Joe Biden is still president of the United States. And today, one of my favorite people celebrates her 80th birthday. Happy 80th birthday, Linda Evans, Crystal Carrington. Happy birthday, Linda Evans. 80 years old today. I love Linda Evans. And on this day, John F. Kennedy, back in 1963, actually granted a full pardon to the Thanksgiving turkey. Good eating, Mr. President, the sign says. That is the presidential pardon, which is an annual event here in the United States. Every president grants a full pardon to the turkey, and then they'll go get something else that was slaughtered and eat that instead of the one that is used for the photo op. So they still have turkey, but this one was pardoned. Carrie Kennedy says, happy 97th birthday, Daddy. Carrie Kennedy's father, Robert F. Kennedy, celebrated his, or should I say, she celebrates his 97th birthday. Of course, he was assassinated as a young man when he was running for president. Here, Robert Kennedy says, the responsibility of our time is nothing less than to lead a revolution which will be peaceful if we are wise enough, human if we care enough, successful if we are fortunate enough, but a revolution which will come whether we will it or not. We can affect its character. We cannot alter its inevitability. Robert F. Kennedy. Boy, I tell you, those Kennedys had a way with words. I swear, I promise, the Kennedys always have had a way with words. There are many speeches that John F. Kennedy gave where you could see where he actually would rewrite the speech up until the moment that he's standing at the lectern. He has rewritten or edited his speeches over and over again, but they were his own words. Robert F. Kennedy would have been 97 years old today. And this is like one of my favorite photos of those Kennedy brothers. President John F. Kennedy and his brother, the Attorney General Robert Kennedy, they were a twofer. When John Kennedy was sent to the White House, Robert F. Kennedy was there as his most loyal and trusted aide, which is something that would have been frowned upon before or after this happened. This is a very unique political situation where you would have the two brothers in the White House at the same time, but it did happen. And so having a family member as an official cabinet member, I don't know that that's ever happened before. So that is a unique situation, but this is like one of my favorite photos ever is the two of them in a hotel having a deep conversation about who knows what. So also today, I would like to remind you guys, on behalf of doctors and nurses everywhere, don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. Do not misuse Christmas decorations. Decorations are meant for Christmas trees or mantelpieces or whatever, but you don't want to misuse your decorations. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Don't let that happen to you. And if you know of someone who is likely to misuse the Christmas decorations, please put a stop to it before it even gets started. Only you can save them from themselves. So, again, Christmas decorations are for looking at. They do not have a function other than celebrating the holiday. So Lydia Washington says with a super chat there, and some of the squatties say they were trying to order coffee off the wish list. It says the address is an issue. Please review it when you can. Okay, I will do that. I received one thing the other day, and you don't have to enter the address. It happens automatically, as far as I know. But I promise I will take a look at it very soon. But yes, thank you so much for trying, you guys. But yeah, the address is already in place, so you don't have to do anything. And even if you don't order anything, thank you so much for the consideration. Okay. And so, with that, guess what, you guys? I'm done. I am so done. So, I will look to your final comments. Yes, it's been 2 hours and 10 minutes. I will look at your final comments, and then we will do a ginge avenge and say farewell for today. Also, I would just like to share with you guys, there was a lovely prayer from the official chaplain of Royal Sussex. Jacqueline Squash says, the fruits of Harry and Meghan's labor has been recognized by God Almighty. Amen, amen, and amen. That is why they are being honored. God's word says, let your light shine, and it will glorify our God Almighty. Jacqueline Squash, that was absolutely beautiful. And that's why I saved it so I could use it for now. Again, thank you so much for that lovely prayer. And Jacqueline Squash, who is the official chaplain of Royal Sussex. That was absolutely lovely. As a matter of fact, I think that should just be our last word for the day. Post it again? Sure. The link for that, let me see here. Yeah, so I, what do you call it? I received a gift from one of the squatties, and it went through the information. Now, I don't, as I was saying, you don't have to insert an address because it's already there. So let me see. Invite, copy link. All right, so this is the link directly from the Amazon, right? That's the link directly. Oh, thank you, Liddy. I just oh man. And so let me peg that to the top of the chat. All right, so there's that link. All right, you guys, thank you so much, and thank you so much for being here, everyone. It has been a pleasure as usual, and I tell you, Sophie and Eddie, Edwina, they are the gift that just keeps giving. I am having so much fun only because of how nasty and negative and hateful and mean and cruel, especially. And I'm going to give Eddie props for having on the Michael Jackson detail on his tunic, especially at a funeral when people were supposed to be mourning the loss of the queen, and they couldn't think of anything better to do than to try to make Meghan feel as unwanted and as uncomfortable as possible. So I say to them, nobody deserves what's happening to them more than they do, because I think what they were doing was very cruel and thoughtless. And I say, you have made up your bed, so lie in it and waddle around and enjoy. Oh, and Claire Kane, I have to watch your video. They said it was great, and I will watch it. So if you guys are not subscribed to Claire Kane, if you're not subscribed to Miss VS Speaks Royally, if you're not subscribed to Lauren Brown, they have been in the chat. Make sure that you subscribe and support these channels. It is very important. The more voices we have in the Sussex squad, the better chance we have to protect our faves. So just a little something to consider. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe, so why wouldn't you? Do it, do it, do it, do it. make sure you subscribe so that we can make sure that our faves are well looked after. And of course, there's always to support on social media. As a matter of fact, some people have gone into Facebook jail, YouTube jail, and otherwise because they were standing up for the Sussexes. So thank you for being warriors for the cause. I don't condone getting put in jail, but I understand. All right. So thanks to our faves, Diana, our queen of hearts, and our queen of everything, Doria. And of course, we're looking forward to the next Christmas card from the Sussexes. Don't forget that is coming down the pike. And on the 29th, Megan will be in Indianapolis. And then, next month? The Sussexes will be in New York. So a lot of good things coming. And we have a Spotify Tuesday. So I will definitely look forward to all of those things. All right, you guys, love you a lot. Shelly L says, Baron, God is trying to bless you through us. Please add more items to your wish list. We love you. Oh, Shelly L, thank you. Oh, now, I feel weird about the wish list. And as evident by the fact it took me almost 2 years to put one up, but I will do as I'm told. And I appreciate it. But yes, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you, Miss VSN. See ya. And thank you, Shelly L, for the super chat. And thanks for watching Royal Sussex. All right. Well, let's get on with the Ginger Avenger. I gotta change these photos for Ginger Avenger. I know. I want to keep the layout, but I want to change the photos. So that is forthcoming, I promise. But it'll be after Thanksgiving, and probably by the middle of December, I should have done that. So
What a pleasure to meet you. My goodness, are you warm enough out here?
I am.
Oh, good.
She's been here since 9:15.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you. Are you from here? Were you born and raised here?
Do you live here? I live in Hoylake, which is about 6 miles away.
Oh. That's not too far.
No.
And what do you have planned for the rest of the day today?
Just thinking about the honour of meeting you.
Oh. you so much. Oh, that is the kindest thing. Thank you. It's a real honor to meet you as well. Oh, thank you. You're so. Thank you so much. Well, Happy New Year, and thank you.
He's charming. He's married because he's charming. Spent too much time with him. I don't know. I'm glad he's married. Been involved in the Invictus Games with Prince Harry from the beginning.
Yeah, can you tell us anything about Prince Harry?
I can tell you. I'm happy he's married because he spent too much time with him. I don't know. I'm glad he's married.
One of them doesn't make that's how devoted she is, so... It's just so annoying. Yeah.
Where's Megan?
Where is she?
I have no idea. Is that the decoy?
She probably was the decoy. I mean, she's smarter than all of us, so...
Oh, where is she? Oh, is she in that